Thank you very much, Munther, for joining us today. I'll be quiet. Over to you.
Thank you, Brendan, and greetings to everyone. Thank you for this invitation, and I'm happy to share with you, alongside my colleague and friend, Reverend Fadi Diab, about the situation of Palestinian Christians over the years. I will be focusing on how did we get here, and then Reverend Fadi may speak more about the current situation and what can be done. And in my 10 minutes, I would like just to highlight some key important points for your consideration, especially in the UK context. I will begin by emphasizing that Palestinian Christians today, we are the oldest Christian community in the world, and we represent the longest living tradition in the world. And we continue the Christian message and witness from the place it all started. Today, sadly, it's a presence that is in danger of ceasing to exist. Yet I have very strong faith in God that the same God who sustained us over 2,000 years will continue to do so even today in the most difficult circumstances. These are some of the worst days we are going through. What many people sometimes fail to acknowledge is the amount of impact, the influence theology and Western church attitudes have played over the years as part of the tragedy of Palestine, of Palestinians, and of Palestinian Christians. The Western church, with its attitude and theology, has been a major influence in our tragedy. The idea of promoting the restoration of the Jewish people and the necessity of their presence in historical Palestine, and the idea of quote-unquote Jews returning to their land, end quote, have put our presence in Palestine in danger, because even though this might sound like a simple and innocent theological claim, it puts our presence in danger because it gives the impression that we, the indigenous people of the land, are no longer, are actually strangers occupying someone else's land. This theology that in some cases sought to bring the second coming of Christ, or simply sought to, the idea that Jews will be present in Palestine, then their restoration will happen, their conversion, all of that, and the necessity for Jews to be present in Palestine on the political level meant that a Jewish person born in the UK have more right to live and possess and inhabit this land more than the Palestinian Christian themselves, as manifested in the current reality under occupation. And so there has always been a fascination about the Holy Land and the desire to have a Western Christian presence. But then later, this fascination became with bringing the Jewish people to the land, supporting them, build a state, and then, as I said, many believed, especially in the Protestant world, in the UK, in England, during the 19th century and even before, that this is part of the Jewish restoration. The horrific evils of the Holocaust and the guilt that it generated among Christians also led to a lot of sympathy towards the Jewish people. Yet one could argue that it is the Palestinians who are paying the price of the guilt of the Holocaust, even Palestinian Christians, even though this was not our sin, even anti-Semitism. And one could even argue further that the Western world did not actually deal with their own racism and anti-Semitism. They simply cast the problem somewhere else, rather than learning how to live and respect the Jewish communities in their land. Instead, Zionism became the solution for European anti-Semitism, and Zionism, with its exclusive and one could argue racist ideology, is putting our presence right now in danger as Palestinians. And then we see the form of Christian Zionism, especially in North America, with its militant expressions, its fascination with end-time theology, and the idea that if you bless Israel, God will bless you. Even main politicians today in the United States, including the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, said it is our duty as Christians to bless Israel and support Israel. Even if Israel commits war crimes, you see, the idea is that we have to bless Israel. So in this theology and in this attitudes, over the years, this meant that Palestinian Christians have been ignored, marginalized, and in many cases dehumanized by the Western world. We have been portrayed as the strangers, strangers in our own land, second-class citizens in our homeland. Our occupation had been justified. And right now, even a war that many describe, including myself, as a genocide, has been justified using this rationale. I would like to read a quote from Palestinian theologian and pastor Munther Isaac, who commented on the creation of the State of Israel by saying the following. Beginning the quote, Palestinian Christians, the native people of the land, were not visible in Western Christian theology. Just as Israel erased Christian demography and geography from Palestine, so Western theologians erased Palestinian Christians from their theology as if they had never existed, as if they did not belong to Palestine, and as if they were aliens in the Holy Land. The year of 1948 was catastrophe for Palestinian Christian community. They lost in numbers, demography. They lost a significant portion of their property, geography, and they lost the support of Western theologians. Palestinian Christians were not persecuted because of their faith, but they were disinherited physically and theologically for the simple reason that they were Palestinian Arabs. They were forced to make space for the European colonialism of the Israeli state and Western theology, end quote. And so since 1948, we've been witnessing a decline in the Palestinian Christian presence. In many areas in the West Bank, that presence almost ended. For example, there was a Christian community in Tulkarem, in Hebron. And right now, Gaza is a case point for this. This war most likely will bring, we hope not, I hope I'm wrong, but most likely will bring an end to the Christian presence as we know it in Gaza. But more than that, the war on Gaza is a case point for everything I said about Western support. We've seen theology used to justify this war. We've seen how people called it a just war, promoting the just war theory. We've seen how it's Jews defending their own homeland. The whole idea of self-defense not just ignores the context, ignores the fact that Israel is the occupier and Palestinians are the occupied. Before 1948, we were the indigenous people of the land, and then our land was colonized. But all of a sudden now, we are the aggressor and Israel is defending itself. And we've seen this narrative promoted even by church leaders. And we've seen the double standards in this war. Israel has committed obvious and documented war crimes, but have never been condemned by the church or by your government. And all Israel needs to do is to say, we have a report that claims 12 employees of UNRWA were engaged in the attacks on October 7th, and the UK immediately cuts the funding on UNRWA. This double standards leaks not just hypocrisy, but racism towards Palestinians. And it is what's making us really angry and frustration. And then we see the hesitancy of church Christian leaders to call for a ceasefire. I mean, we're not asking you to condemn Israel, just call for a ceasefire. As I said, you know, your silence is complicity with this genocide. And so today, more than ever, there is and I'm speaking from my young life experience and from reading and learning, more than ever, there is a sense of frustration and anger from the Western church. We feel abandoned, especially in this war, having seen how the church reacted, how church leaders reacted, the positions they have taken, and the lack of urgency we see now from church leaders calling for a ceasefire. All of this, made me convinced and many others that the Western world does not see us as equal. that, you know, when you continue to justify the killing of Palestinian children, there's something wrong. And as I said, we're convinced the world does not see us as equals. And even here right now in the West Bank, the situation is worse than I can remember in terms of employment, restriction of movement, daily incursions, how many Palestinians killed since October 7th. These are some of our worst days. We're not talking about the West Bank just because in comparison, we don't want to talk, draw the attention away from the genocide in Gaza, but the situation in the West Bank is unbearable. We're grateful for all the support. We're grateful for all the Christians who have taken strong or, you know, have taken positions and called for a ceasefire. We're grateful for those who have provided support. We're grateful for the Friends of the Holy Land for their continuous work and many others. And we need it more than ever. We want you to continue, especially, as I said, when we feel abandoned. But at the same time, and I have to be honest, we need more than just support and prayers. I'm not saying you should stop, but I think we need more. We need to reach a point where even charities are not needed. And we need to challenge structures of injustice. We need to challenge those who are causing the situation right now in Palestine to be as it is. As long as we live under siege, occupation, and the system of apartheid, we will continue to be dependent on charities and UNRWAs and so on. It's time this comes to an end. My prayer is, and this sounds very counterproductive, and I'm sure you understand, but my prayer is that we reach a point where Friends of the Holy Land changes its mission, where it becomes, let's come and pray with Palestinian Christians, because there is no occupation and there is no need for economical support. Sadly, this is not the reality now. We need you to help us, stand with us, and also to be vocal that this war must end and that the occupation must end. Thank you.